Welcome back, everybody! Last time, Phoenix is all talking about significance and... Oh, very significant, not very significant. No, I'm just kidding. He's only talking about very significant stuff. But we're about to have a revelation of what the very significant impact is. The victim was struck by the defendant, then died from his injuries sometime later. There's nothing more to it. That's where you're wrong. Let's take another look at Mr. Gloomsbury's autopsy report, shall we? Please focus on the description of his injuries. It says one contusion was found on the back of his head and the other one on the side. Yes, the one Mr. Sprocket gave him and the one Miss Wyatt delivered to finish him off. No, the defense would like to submit a different interpretation. A different interpretation? The victim was knocked unconscious by the first blow and was then put to the lantern. Put into the lantern. Then what about the lethal blow by the defendant that the witness talked about? Yes, well, that didn't happen. After some time, when the victim regained consciousness and tried to get out of the lantern, that's when he received the second blow that finished him off. Taking into account the fact that the victim was alive for a period after the first hit, and that he did receive the second blow to the head, it does seem entirely possible. Yes, as long as the first blow didn't kill the victim instantly. Then there's the possibility that someone other than Mr. Sprocket or Miss Wyatt delivered the fatal blow. Objection! That's all you've got? Even if there was a time lag between the two blows, the prosecution's position doesn't change. What do you mean? It's elementary, Mr. Wright. After the reception, when the defendant was cleaning up the reception hall, the victim who was supposed to be dead suddenly came out of the lantern. The defendant grabbed the murder weapon, which was right there, and finished him off. That theory sounds awfully familiar. Of course it does, Your Honor, because it's exactly what I proposed at the very start. The second blow was inflicted by the defendant after all. I see. It seems a tangle of mysteries has unraveled into a single thread. Objection! But as long as there's a possibility that the fatal blow was delivered by a third person, then we must continue the deliberations. Give it up, Mr. Wright, unless you have something to prove the presence of your precious third person. Okay, Nick, just relax, you can do this. Come on now, take some deep breaths. Good idea, deep breaths, deep breaths. There, don't you feel better already? Maya's right, I should calm down, get my focus back, and go over everything again. And then hopefully, I'll be able to find something to prove there was a third person. Let's see, first, why did Gloomsbury attack Ellen? Because he was tired of taking the blame for the accident? But something about that line of reasoning just doesn't feel quite right to me. No? How come? Well, if it's just a personal vendetta, he had already stabbed Soren. So why then was he so determined to go after Ellen? You're right, this whole thing feels too premeditated for a crime of passion. Gloomsbury didn't seem to have a personal grudge against Ellen. Gloomsbury didn't have a personal reason to attack Ellen then. You've taken long enough, Mr. Wright. Now it's time for some action. What proof do you have that a third person was involved? Alright, I'll show you. I'm not completely sure what I'm doing yet, but it looks like I'm out of time. Okay, Phoenix. This piece of evidence proves the involvement of a third person. I got nothing, honestly. I got nothing at all, man. I don't think that is the answer, or is it? What could the evidence be? Nobody knows what the truth is today. What do you know about it? A photo reception taken by a relative. Much of the reception hall is obscured by thick fog. We haven't updated that, did we? Huh. What could it be? What could it be? I really don't know, actually. Oh. Involvement of a third person, though. It's obviously this because she saw a shadowy figure. And we already went over that with Soren, basically, so... Heart-shaped key used to activate the timekeeper. Is it this?
Take that!
Nope. I mean, it was basically involved with the murder weapon, so I thought maybe that had something to do with it. Like, where did it come from? It wasn't there before. How does this prove the involvement of a third person, Mr. Wright? I would love to hear the defense explain its way out of this. Go ahead, Nick, tell him! Oh boy, guilty verdict, here we come! Well, you see, Looks like I was wrong. Next time, try to involve your brain before you blurt out an answer. Not one word, just look over the evidence again, alright? Yes, ma'am, I better try that again. Huh. I still don't know, though. I still do not know. What was mentioned before all this? If Gloomsbury didn't have a personal reason to attack Ellen, then... Huh. I don't really know what to do with this one. Huh. Still don't think that's really what we're looking for, though, because we did argue this one before, so unless we're supposed to go back to that, in which case, I don't know? I really have no idea. Oh. Right-handed person? Maybe that does prove the involvement of a third person.
Take that!
I get it now. Now I see why this note bothered me so much when I first saw it. It's a note outlining the murder plot. That note was apparently written by the victim. Why would he feel the need to write instructions to himself like this? Your Honor, please take a look at this note. This is the victim's murder plan, right? It's definitely a murder plan, but what if Mr. Gloomsbury didn't write this note himself? What? This is how you intend to conjure up your mysterious third party, Mr. Wright? Can you even prove that note wasn't written by the victim? Yes, I can. Very well then, please present your evidence, Mr. Wright. This evidence proves the victim didn't write the note. That. This is the weapon Mr. Gloomsbury used to stab Mr. Sprocket. I was wondering what you'd pull out this time. Dare I ask what you could possibly have to do with that note? Mr. Gloomsbury's prints were found in his candelabra, and the prints were from his left hand. So that makes the victim left-handed, they're correct? Exactly, Your Honor. The police looked into it too and confirmed as much. Now take a look at the smudge writing this note. So the smudging only starts from the middle of each preceding line. Has been written by a lefty, the writing would be smudged from the far left end. This means that whoever wrote this note was definitely right-handed. In other words, somebody other than the victim wrote this note. What? But if someone other than Mr. Gloomsbury wrote it, then who does this note mean? What does the note mean? Mr. Gloomsbury followed the note to what? Wait. Mr. Gloomsbury followed this note to the letter when he attacked Miss Wyatt. So clearly this note isn't a murder plan written by Mr. Gloomsbury, but rather it's an instruction to kill Miss Wyatt issued by somebody else.
Objection.
It wasn't the victim who wrote these so-called instructions. Then who wrote it? Most of the people involved are right-handed, you know. Yes, correct. The majority of the family and their employees who were on the airship are indeed right-handed. I must say that is a very rough and slipshod conjecture you proposed. Yeah, I mean, I haven't figured out who wrote it just yet. Handwriting analysis. Leave it to Mr. Edgeworth to go for the jugular. Dang, Edgeworth, why the jugular whole thing? It's like, come on, man. This culprit who ordered Gloomsbury to attack Ellen. What could their motive have been? It doesn't seem very likely Ellen did anything to incur anybody's wrath, right? Right, not too likely anyway. In that case, it has to be about Soren. If somebody were to hold a grudge against Soren, what would it be about? That accident, I guess? I can understand if Gloomsbury felt resentful about having to take the blame. But the one who lost the most at that accident was Soren's sister. She lost her life after all. Soren suffered too, of course. He was crushed by losing somebody so precious to him. Somebody precious, huh? Soren's sister. Wait, there's one more person. Someone else who must hold a grudge against Soren. Did you figure something out? I think so. I think there's somebody else who used Gloomsbury to try and get revenge against Soren. Did you say somebody tried to get revenge against Mr. Sprocket, Mr. Wright? The person who manipulated and used Mr. Gloomsbury was Selena's fiancé? Person who used Mr. Gloomsbury to try and get revenge on Mr. Sprocket. And then finished Mr. Gloomsbury off to silence him. Was a man dear to Mr. Sprocket's older sister. Selena Sprocket's fiancé. Not that I'm positive, but it's certainly possible. His fiancé could have made Mr. Gloomsbury attack Ellen to get his revenge on Soren. What? Her fiancé? But Pierce wouldn't fit that bill, though, because he joined the family a year ago, and the accident was less than a year ago. So that doesn't necessarily add up? Because the fiancé was a surgeon, and we don't have any evidence saying that Pierce was a surgeon. I mean, it could still be him, but I mean, we don't have anything linking him to it right now. Order in the court, order, I say! Yes, it does seem quite believable that Miss Selena Sprocket's fiancé would bear a grudge against Mr. Sprocket for his role in the accident. Exactly, Your Honor. Maybe her fiancé was trying to murder Miss Wyatt in order to make Mr. Sprocket experience the same pain he'd felt. Miss Sprocket's fiancé was a surgeon, if my memory serves. The only people who attended the reception were family and staff members. It may be. But then that just means that Mr. Sprocket's fiancé must have been among those who attended. What? Really? Of course, otherwise how could he have killed Gloomsbury? Oh, I see what you're doing. It's another giant bluff, isn't it? Alright, I'll bite. Who exactly do you claim this fiancé to be? Yes, I would like to know as well. Are you sure you're gonna be okay, Nick? Maybe. When it comes to suspicious people, there's only one person on my list. Find something that connects him to Selena. This will help us identify Miss Sprocket's fiancé. What the frick? Are you kidding? Wait. Oh, frick me. Please take a look at this photo, Your Honor. That photo? But I don't get it, though. He's been in the family longer than that accident happened, so shouldn't we all know that, like, oh yeah, he was the surgeon. He's still in the family. He didn't leave. I'm confused, but okay. Notice Miss Sprocket's pocket. Wait, who explained the whole thing with the surgeon exactly? Was that freaking Pierce that did that? You know what? That makes him even more suspicious now that I think about it. We didn't question anyone else about this, did we? Notice Miss Sprocket's pocket watch? Hadn't we seen it somewhere before? Indeed. Yes, now that you mention it, I do feel as I've seen it somewhere before. I believe we've all seen it. Right here in this very courtroom. Ugh, impossible! That's right, the pocket watch in this photo. Is the same pocket watch Mr. Nichody has on him right now. What? This is clear proof of a strong connection between Pierce Nichody and Selena Sprocket. No. Well, Mr. Nichody, is this true? Mr. Nichody, you were once engaged to Selena Sprocket. That pocket watch, you keep it as a memento of her, don't you? Mr. Nichody, you plan to rob Mr. Sprocket of his loved one. To make him feel the same pain as you, isn't that right? Mr. Sprocket managed to fight back and knock Mr. Gloomsbury unconscious. He thought Mr. Gloomsbury was dead and hid his body in the lantern. And then you notice Mr. Gloomsbury regained consciousness. And so you finish him off to prevent your plan from being exposed. This is the defense's take on what really happened in this murder case. Mr. Wright, does this mean you wish to officially accuse the witness of the murder of Dumas Gloomsbury? Let's accuse Mr. Nichody of the murder. Well, obviously don't accuse, of course. Duh. Wait, if I back down now, it's all over. I have to take the plunge and chase this down to the very end. Defense indicts Pierce Nichody on the charge of murdering Dumas Gloomsbury. Why are there so many choices that just don't matter? I don't understand this game. I feel like this is more than most Ace Attorney games would have. Oh my! Mr. Nichody, would you care to respond? Okay, I give up. I did it. ... Man, this lawyer just yaps and on and on and on. As you guessed, this watch is a memento of Selena. It stopped working at the time of the accident, though. And you really are. Yes, I was Selena's fiancé, and not just her fiancé, but the surgeon beside her deathbed.
Objection!
Uh-huh. Mr. Nichody, why didn't you tell me any of this before? Shut it, you useless prosecutor. I thought you could be of use, but apparently this case was too much for you. What did you say? If your office hadn't stuck its nose up in all this, I could have swept it under the rug. Not only did you interfere with the case, but you even let me fall under suspicion. It's because you kept trying to cover things up on the sly. Ugh. Covering things up wasn't your only involvement. The only person who had a motive to use the victim and try to kill Miss Wyatt was you! Ugh. Ah! I got shot! By my own drone. Okay, this is a very 2020 thing to be doing right now. Let the shackles be released! Malignant tumors. There are malignant tumors in this courtroom, lesions oozing with false charges. The tumors are one idiotic lawyer and one useless prosecutor. After the truth is revealed... Oh wait, yeah, he's a surgeon, that's why he put the mask on. I'll have the both of you incised from the legal world. I'd like to see you try. The power of the Sprocket family would be a cinch. Whoa. I will now begin the operation. What in the world happened to Mr. Nichody? Looks like he's finally showing his true colors. Nick, look! Look what he did to that shoulder mech! Quit your yapping before I suture your chatty lips shut. It's like he's a completely different person. Sure looks like it, huh? We can't let our guards down now. Mr. Nichody, it's finally time for you to testify. To the truth! It seems we're entering the final act at last. Witness your testimony, please. Witness testimony? Right to remain silent. ... Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Mr. Nichody, why didn't you say anything? Ack! Just take a picture of me or something. He wants me to voluntarily testify, hoping I would make a slip with the tongue. Not a very impressive plan or brain, I might add. Wow, that was uncalled for. You want to know something? You ask the question. I will answer, but I have no intention of making any voluntary statements of my own. Ugh. What's he trying to do, Nick? Using the silent treatment as a strategy to avoid getting ripped up. Clever guy. No more lies, Mr. Nichody. You will tell us nothing but the truth from now on. Ugh! What do you think you're doing? No one asked you to speak. Just keep quiet over there and play with your fills. How dare you! Well, this is a rather unconventional situation, but please proceed, Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor. Any help? Edgeworth? Come on, man. Need some help here. Right to remain silent. Well, okay. If that's how it must be, then that's how it must be. Hold it! Hold it! He won't speak voluntarily, and I guess I'll have to ask him something. What question should I ask? Reason for killing Gloomsbury? Grudge against Soren? Actions on the day of the crime? Grudge against Soren? You've been nursing a grudge against Mr. Sprocket over the loss of your fiancé. Isn't that right? I'd be lying if I said I felt no resentment whatsoever. Master Soren didn't cause that accident on purpose. Master Soren himself has suffered greatly. He quit being a surgeon and found a way to get even closer to Mr. Sprocket. Wasn't that so you could carry out your revenge on him? Don't insult me. Supporting Master Soren and Sprocket Aviation was my life's work. As my penance for not being able to save Selena. This is how I honor her. I feel your devotion as both a fiancé and a surgeon. Your statement breaks my heart. I've never thought of exacting revenge on Miss Master Soren. Never thought of it, huh? Guess I should probably take that with a pound of salt. Mr. Wright, would you like that statement added to the witness's testimony? Yes. Yes, please, Your Honor. I'll find an opening somehow. I've never thought of exacting revenge on Master Soren. Okay. So you have no thoughts of vengeance towards Master Sprocket whatsoever. Of course not. So you wouldn't have wanted that. Thrown my own life away and lived solely for the sake of the Sprocket family. That's how I show my love for her. Alrighty then. Well, one thing's for sure. Pierce gets really emotional when it comes to Selena. No kidding. I'm not sure how he feels about Soren, but his love for Selena is pretty obvious. Indeed. Won't speak voluntarily. I guess the reason for killing Gloomsbury, because I mean this is the same thing we just already asked earlier. Isn't it true that when Mr. Gloomsbury regained consciousness inside the lantern, you murdered him in order to silence him? He was an excellent employee and very loyal to me. Gloomsbury was my right-hand man. I'd suffer the most from losing him. You would think I'd kill a guy like that? That would make sense only if you were innocent. If your goal was revenge, you don't really have to care about something like that. But I am innocent, I tell you. Don't try to force your conjectures onto me. Nah. I guess without decisive evidence, I can't pursue this line of questioning any further. Mr. Wright, would you like that statement added to the witness's testimony? Yes, please, Your Honor. Every little bit I can drag out of him helps, right? Gloomsbury was my right-hand man. I'd suffer the most from losing him. What did Mr. Gloomsbury think of Mr. Sprocket? After always forced to take the blame for the accident, he must have been resentful. He got his position as the lead servant in exchange for taking the blame. It wasn't exactly a bad deal for him. But he must have felt some sort of indignation. Judgment! Who knows? Now that he's dead, we'll never know for sure. Honestly, I've had enough indignation to last me a lifetime. Thanks to a certain game I've been playing recently. It's pointless to talk about it any further. Alright, dead men tell no tales after all. Hey, wait a minute! Bruh, I mean seriously, why do we not just have Maya do spirit channeling? Seriously. Okay. Oops, frick. Ugh! This isn't going to be easy, is it? Let's say that again. All I can do is just try to draw as much information as I can out of him and look for any inconsistencies. This is the moment of truth, huh, Nick? Good luck! Thanks. We're certainly gonna need it anyway. Press it. Okay, action on the day of the crime. On the day of the incident, you were constantly surrounded by your subordinates. Is that right? Absolutely. I was in someone's line of sight at all times. They're always busy taking care of every detail of the event. Mr. Edgeworth, I believe your investigation backs up my claim. I got statements that said groups of his subordinates worked with him in rotation. So he was always with someone. The prosecutor just said. I couldn't even get close to the lantern containing Gloomsbury by myself. Let alone kill him. Pierce didn't have a chance to get close to the victim alone, huh? Mr. Wright, would you like that statement as the witness's testimony? Add the testimony, yes please. Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to have that statement added to the testimony. Very well. I was always in the company of others. I didn't have an opportunity to murder Gloomsbury. So that's new. So you were always in someone's line of sight. I was surrounded by family members and staff as we prepared for the reception. During the reception, I was stationed behind the suite heart table to attend to the couple. When could I have possibly committed murder? Not buying it if Pierce is the true killer. There must have been some time when he was out of everyone's sight. What do you think, Nick? Is there a chance for us here? Well, as long as we have some kind of testimony from him, there has to be. So have to compare his testimony against the evidence and... Exactly, this is it. I have to do this right. Do it, Phoenix. Uh-huh. What about the fog machine, though? You could have maybe not been in the site because of that. Huh. I wonder, though. I do wonder. I'm gonna say the fog machine? Objection! Frick! I don't know anymore. Your Honor, I have a feeling this piece of evidence contradicts the witness's statement. A feeling, defense? Yes, Your Honor, or rather a hope that it indicates a contradiction. Mr. Wright, is there or isn't there a contradiction here? Looks like there is, but there really isn't one, is there? Are you asking me, Mr. Wright? Because what it really seems to me is you're asking for a penalty. Thanks for that definitive answer, Your Honor. Oh, brother. As a lawyer like you, Mr. Wright, even I feel bad for the defendant. Well, you don't have to feel bad for her for long. I'll get it right next time. You'll see. This does feel like the one I have to challenge, though. Well, what can we do, huh? What can we do? Huh. I mean, if that's the case, that means if it was two Pegaballs, the Pegacow he was standing right next to would be the one that he was standing next to in the end. Huh. I was always in the air in the flying hell. Ceremony on the Vista deck, Sprocket Aviation's majestic Pegamoo mascots will light up the happy couple from both sides of the sweetheart table. Huh. Wasn't there an issue? The light bulb was out too. There's too much to think about here, really. Didn't have an opportunity to murder Mr. Gloomsbury. But... did you not, though? Because, I mean... you were standing right next to it, though. I'm gonna say this one. Objection! Oh boy. One strike left. I mean, I was kind of on the right track. I mean, the fog machine, you know, but I mean, that might not be directly related to what we had to contradict, so that's oh well. Mr. Nichody testifies that he was always with someone at the time of the incident, and never had a moment alone to commit the crime. Yes, and the police investigation backs that statement up, doesn't it? But there was an opportunity, in fact, one and only one. A moment when Mr. Nichody could have killed Mr. Gloomsbury without anyone noticing. What? And the one thing that made that moment possible is shown here in this photograph. Hold it. All those people watching, I couldn't have possibly committed murder. I don't believe in Your Honor. This lawyer is a malignant tumor. He wants to infect this judicial body with something. Virulent accusations. Mr. Nichody, I would ask that you keep quiet this time. We need to evaluate the defense's claim, and your yammering only serves to throw further suspicion your way. Mr. Wright, let's see this one thing you mentioned. But be warned, this had better not be one of your offhanded claims. Who do you think you're talking to, Mr. Edgeworth? Very well, Mr. Wright. Please point out for us the one thing that made this moment of the murder possible. And we'll point out that one thing on the next exciting episode, everybody! What do you think that one thing is, everyone? What do you think that one thing is? I hope I get it right, because I have no idea, honestly. Hey, everyone, we'll find out the truth next episode, so until then, everyone, I'll see ya tomorrow! Have a good one. Bye-bye! Hello, everyone, you've reached the end of this video, but before we go for the day, I'd just like to give a quick shout-out to the Tier 4 and 5 channel members, Phoenix Edgeworth, Acheron X2, Menthy, and Meister Papala. Thank you all for being awesome and supporting the channel. If you too would like to also get your name shouted out at the end of each video and live stream, shoutouts are available for all Tier 4 and 5 channel members. I hope you all have an awesome day. I'll see you all later.